I don't think much creativity happens by accident. I think it's a bunch of little pieces that combine together to create some sort of exponential effect that's greater than any one of those pieces would have ever had on its own.
Hey everyone, I am really excited to interview Cole NeSmith from the Creative City Project. Cole is the second interviewee in our Creative Faces of Orlando series, which, let's try that again with a little bit more smiling. All right, Drew? The work Cole and Creative City Project in general does has been a source of personal inspiration. I am just really excited to discuss with him the importance not only of building an audience as an artist, but the crucial role that community plays in our lives as creators and how valuable that support system can be. Thank you.
When it comes to the idea of community, I think there's a lot of different levels that we as creative people are thinking about. On a big picture level, one of our objectives is to help cultivate a thriving arts community in Central Florida. So how are we supporting artists? How are we helping them, thrive in their craft? How are we connecting them to one another? How are we providing opportunities and training? How are we paying artists? We're also always thinking about how we're connecting artists with audiences. So that's another thing that we're thinking about when it comes to community. The difference between a hobbyist and a career artist is an audience. So at our annual Performing and Interactive Arts event, IMMERSE, that's what we're constantly saying to artists. Think about how you can build a bridge to our audience that helps connect them to what you're doing and connect them to each other in a way that's unique.
I guess we talked about sort of the relational elements of community and creativity. And I guess what would you say to sort of creators struggling with that feeling of sort of isolation and loneliness? I think it's something that kind of resonates with a lot of people that I speak to, whether it's back to the hiding, what you actually create and not wanting to share it. And I guess what's kind of, how does community kind of step in there, and kind of what would you say to a creator in encouraging them to pursue that?
Being a creative person is a rough life sometimes, because we find ourselves in the midst of the world seeing it differently than most of the people around us. And it can feel isolating, and it can, and also there's this other idea of sensitivity. Like, to be a good artist, you have to be a sensitive person. And so that means that we're letting in some wonderful things. It also means that we're open and susceptible to some really heavy things as well. We feel deeply, and that's required if we're going to be creative and make work that connects with other people. We have to have a deep level of sensitivity. And because we're sensitive and because we're open, we have to be extra intentional about staying healthy from an emotional place and from a mental place. So I would say, don't do it alone, and don't try to do it alone. Even the way what is now called IMMERSE, the way it started was just me calling a bunch of artist friends and saying, like, hey, bring your guitar out to a street corner and play. And so that idea of like doing what you can with what you have really is the only way to get from where we are to where we want to go.
How do you encourage young creators, right, that are on the same trajectory, but maybe, several years or decades back?
Yeah, I don't think this is a young creator problem. I think there are probably a lot of old creators who may be in a worse place than a lot of young creators. I have no idea. I think this idea that, like, we're running out of time, which is true on a cosmic scale, like we're gonna die and every day we live, we're closer to that.
And a lot more of it than we act.
Right, but like, if we say, okay, I'm gonna start a podcast, or okay, I'm gonna start a blog, or okay, I'm gonna start making this vlog to put on YouTube, I think we determine whether or not it's a good idea and something we want to continue investing in 18 months into it. And a lot of us have this idea that like, if I do it for 2 months and it's not working out, that was enough time. Nothing happens in 2 months. No one builds an audience in 2 months. The concept of virality is killing creative people because they think they need to create a thing that a ton of people will watch. After we've done something for 18 months, we can step back, we can reassess. Do I still enjoy doing this? If I do, and there is an audience and I'm happy with that, then I keep doing it. If I'm not, then I stop and I do something else, and that's okay. My advice to myself on an ongoing basis and to people who are trying to make a creative career is just keep trying stuff and see what works. I think we can't be good at whatever craft that we're doing by taking a tight hold of it and creating a little bit of content that's like, that we think is at level 9. Because it won't be. If you're creating a little bit of content, it will never be at level 9. We have to create a lot of content to get some stuff that'll eventually be at level 9. And so I've really gotten to the point where it's just like, I'm gonna make as much as I can and recognize that what I release today isn't the final statement of my life. And I may release 10,000 pieces of content before I'm 60, but hopefully what I'm releasing when I'm 60 is the culmination of the 10,000 pieces of content that I've already released.
How do you keep yourself motivated, though, when perhaps you don't feel quite as strongly about the quality of a certain piece? Or I guess, how do you kind of keep that up? Because I think that sounds like a wonderful principle, but also one that's difficult to employ, right? So I'm just curious, what kind of keeps you going when perhaps you're not as proud of a certain piece, right?
It's this interesting thing. I mean, why do any of us create, I guess? And for me, if I'm transparent about, like, I mean, to some degree, it's like my own insecurities and need for validation. I'm making things in part because it's self-expression, and I want that to be the purest reason why I'm making. Like, I hope that what I'm making actually means something to people. But there's also this other thing where it's just like, I need to be seen.
Thank you so much to everyone for watching this episode. We are really excited to continue featuring some of the most talented artists here in Orlando, showing not only a glimpse of their work to you, but also discussing with them their motivation and their process. I hope that this will be valuable to you all in your own creative endeavors. One of the things that Cole said that most resonated with me is his emphasis on community. Not only the role the community plays in terms of the audience's attention that we're always trying to capture as artists, but the importance of leaning into our community. Creatives love to go it alone, and it's too easy to think that we are in fact alone, but we don't just need community for the sake of audience, but we need community for the sake of our own selves and our own health. Here in Orlando especially, we have a rich and thriving community of artists, and I feel fortunate to be a part of that, and I look forward to showing you more of our wonderful artistic community here through this show. Thank you so much again for watching episode 2. Let's keep exploring Orlando's creative scene together.